Most people fail the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam for one simple reason. They memorize definitions instead of understanding the real exam traps. So in this video, you're about to test yourself with 50 AWS CLF-2 exam-style questions covering cloud concepts, security, billing, pricing, support plans, EC2, S3, IAM, VPC, and more. These are not random quiz questions. They're designed to feel like the actual exam. Same wording style, same confusion points, and same tricky answer choices AWS loves to use. Don't just watch passively. Pause the video, lock in your answer, and keep score till the end. If you can consistently score above 80% here, you're probably much closer to passing than you think. Let's start with question 1. According to the AWS Shared Responsibility Model, which of the following are responsibilities of the customer for IAM? Select 2. The options are A. Compliance validation for the underlying software infrastructure. B. Analyze user access patterns and review IAM permissions. C. Configuration and vulnerability analysis for the underlying software infrastructure. D. Enable MFA on all accounts. E. Manage global network security infrastructure. This question is testing what you, as the customer, must manage in IAM under the shared responsibility model. You need to spot which tasks are related to managing user identities, permissions, and account security on your side. Focus on what happens inside your AWS account, not on AWS's global infrastructure. The correct answer is B. Analyze user access patterns and review IAM permissions. D. Enable MFA on all accounts. Under the AWS Shared Responsibility Model, customers are responsible for security in the cloud, which includes managing IAM users, roles, and their permissions. Reviewing IAM permissions and analyzing who can access what is part of good identity and access management, so option B is correct. Enabling multi-factor authentication, MFA, on all accounts is also a customer responsibility because it is part of securing access to your AWS environment, so option D is correct. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because AWS is responsible for the compliance of the underlying infrastructure as part of security of the cloud, not the customer. Option C is wrong because configuration and vulnerability analysis of the underlying software infrastructure is handled by AWS, not by the customer. Option E is wrong because AWS manages the global network security infrastructure. Customers only manage security controls inside their own accounts. Remember, security of the cloud AWS, security in the cloud equals you. For IAM, you control who gets access and you enable MFA. Question 2. An e-commerce company wants to review the payment card industry PCI reports on AWS Cloud. Which AWS resource can be used to address this use case? The options are A. AWS Cost and Usage Reports, B. AWS Secrets Manager, C. AWS Artifact, D. AWS Trusted Advisor. This question is asking which AWS service helps you access compliance and audit reports like PCI DSS. Think about where AWS stores official security certifications and compliance documentation that you can download on demand. The key word here is review reports, not monitoring, not secrets, but actual audit documents. The correct answer is C. AWS Artifact. AWS Artifact is a self-service portal that provides on-demand access to AWS's security and compliance reports, including PCI DSS Attestation of Compliance, AOC, SOC reports, ISO certifications, and more. Customers can access the Spring 2025 PCI DSS compliance package through AWS Artifact, which includes both the AOC and AWS responsibility summary to help customers understand their responsibilities. It streamlines audit processes by giving you immediate access to compliance documentation whenever you need it. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because AWS Cost and Usage Reports track your billing and spending on AWS services, not compliance documentation. Option B is wrong because AWS Secrets Manager is used to securely store and manage secrets like API keys and passwords, not compliance reports. Option D is wrong because AWS Trusted Advisor provides best practice recommendations for cost optimization, performance, and security, but it doesn't provide compliance audit reports. Quick memory tip. Remember, Artifact equals audit reports. When you need compliance reports, think Artifact. Question 3. Which AWS service can help you analyze your infrastructure to identify unattached or underutilized EBS volumes? The options are A. Amazon CloudWatch, B. Amazon Inspector, C. AWS Trusted Advisor, D. AWS Config. This question is asking which AWS service helps you find EBS volumes that are not attached or not being used efficiently. Think about a service that gives best practice checks and optimization advice for your AWS environment, especially around cost and unused resources. The correct answer is C. AWS Trusted Advisor provides real-time guidance to help you optimize cost, performance, and security in your AWS environment. Specifically, Trusted Advisor checks your Amazon EBS volume configurations and usage patterns to provide recommendations for potential cost savings, including identifying unattached or underutilized EBS volumes. It finds unused or underutilized EBS volumes you can remove to reduce storage costs, and also recommends optimizing EBS usage by detaching unused volumes or resizing oversized ones. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because Amazon CloudWatch focuses on monitoring metrics and logs, not on giving best practice recommendations about unused EBS volumes. Option B is wrong because Amazon Inspector is used for security and vulnerability scanning, not for cost-related EBS utilization checks. Option D is wrong because AWS Config tracks configuration changes and compliance, but it does not specifically give cost optimization insights about unattached or underutilized EBS volumes. Remember, Trusted Advisor equals your trusted friend for cost savings. It tells you what's wasting money in your account. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 4. A streaming media company wants to convert English language subtitles into Spanish language subtitles. As a cloud practitioner, which AWS service would you recommend for this use case? The options are A. Amazon Transcribe, B. Amazon Recognition, C. Amazon Poly, D. Amazon Translate. This question is asking which AWS service can convert text from one language to another. The key phrase is convert English into Spanish. That's a clear translation task. Focus on the service that handles text-to-text language conversion. The correct answer is D. Amazon Translate. Amazon Translate is a neural machine translation service that delivers fast, high-quality, affordable, and customizable language translation. AWS has documented specific use cases for translating video captions and subtitles using Amazon Translate, including converting WebVTT and SRT subtitle files into target languages. The service can translate text from English to Spanish and supports dozens of languages, making it perfect for text-to-text language translation use cases like subtitle conversion. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because Amazon Transcribe converts speech to text, not text from one language to another language. Option B is wrong because Amazon Recognition is used for image and video analysis, like detecting faces or objects, not for translating text. Option C is wrong because Amazon Poly converts text to speech, reads text aloud, but it doesn't translate between languages. Quick memory tip: remember the rhyme. Translate for language, transcribe for speech, Poly reads aloud, Recognition sees each. Question 5. Which entity ensures that your application on Amazon EC2 always has the right amount of capacity to handle the current traffic demand? The options are A. Multi-AZ deployment, B. Application load balancer, C. AutoScaling, D. Network load balancer. This question is asking which AWS feature automatically adds or removes EC2 instances based on traffic demand. The key phrase is right amount of capacity, meaning it should scale up when busy and scale down when quiet. Think about what adjusts the number of servers running your application automatically. The correct answer is C. Auto-scaling Amazon EC2 autoscaling helps you scale the resources of EC2 depending on the demand of incoming traffic, maintaining high availability and optimizing cost. It automatically starts and stops EC2 instances to keep them running at the appropriate capacity based on your defined minimum, maximum, and preferred capacity settings. Auto-scaling even includes predictive scaling that uses machine learning algorithms to predict future traffic patterns and provision the right number of EC2 instances in advance. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because multi-AZ deployment is about high availability and fault tolerance by running resources across multiple availability zones, not about scaling capacity. Option B is wrong because Application Load Balancer distributes traffic across existing instances, but doesn't add or remove instances based on demand. Option D is wrong because Network Load Balancer also just distributes traffic at the network layer, but doesn't change the number of EC2 instances you have running. Remember, auto-scaling equals automatic capacity adjusting. It grows and shrinks your fleet based on traffic. Question 6. Which AWS entity enables you to privately connect your VPC to an Amazon SQS queue? The options are A, AWS Direct Connect, B, Internet Gateway, C, VPC Gateway Endpoint, D, VPC Interface Endpoint. This question is asking how to connect your VPC to SQS privately without going through the public internet. The key word is privately, meaning the traffic should stay within the AWS network using a secure, private connection. Think about which type of VPC endpoint is used for most AWS services like SQS. The correct answer is D, VPC Interface Endpoint. VPC Interface Endpoint enables customers to privately connect to supported AWS services like SQS using AWS Private Link. Traffic between your Amazon VPC and SQS does not leave the Amazon network, and your VPC instances do not require public IP addresses to communicate with SQS. There are two types of VPC endpoints, interface endpoints, for most AWS services including SQS, and gateway endpoints, only for S3 and DynamoDB. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because AWS Direct Connect is used to establish a dedicated private connection from your on-premises data center to AWS, not for connecting VPC to AWS services like SQS. Option B is wrong because an internet gateway enables your VPC to communicate with the public internet, which is not a private connection method. Option C is wrong because VPC Gateway Endpoint only supports S3 and DynamoDB, not Amazon SQS. Remember, gateway equal S3 and DynamoDB only. Interface equal everything else. SQS needs interface endpoint. Question 7. Threat detection is of paramount importance for security in the cloud. Which AWS service offers this key feature? The options are A, Amazon Inspector, B, AWS Cloud HSM, C, AWS Shield, D, Amazon GuardDuty. This question is asking which AWS service is mainly focused on detecting threats and suspicious activity in your AWS accounts and workloads. Think about a service that monitors logs and events to identify possible attacks or compromised resources. The correct answer is D. Amazon GuardDuty. Amazon GuardDuty is a threat detection service that monitors for malicious activity and anomalous behavior to protect AWS accounts, workloads, and data. GuardDuty continuously monitors your AWS environment by analyzing AWS CloudTrail event logs, Amazon VPC flow logs, and DNS logs to identify suspicious or anomalous behavior. As of 2025, GuardDuty includes extended threat detection that uses AI and machine learning to rapidly identify complex, multi-stage attack sequences, providing MITRE-ACT mappings and prescriptive remediation recommendations. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because Amazon Inspector focuses on vulnerability scanning of EC2 instances and containers, not broad threat detection across logs and accounts. Option B is wrong because AWS Cloud HSM provides hardware-based key management and cryptographic operations, not monitoring or threat detection. Option C is wrong because AWS Shield protects mainly against DDoS attacks, but it is not a general-purpose threat detection and monitoring service like GuardDuty. Remember, GuardDuty equals guard on duty 24/7. It's always watching for threats in your AWS environment. Question 8. AWS Organizations provides which of the following benefits? Select 2. The options are A. Share the reserved EC2 instances amongst the member AWS accounts. B. Provision EC2 spot instances across the member AWS accounts. C. Volume discounts for Amazon EC2 and Amazon S3 aggregated across the member AWS accounts. D. Check vulnerabilities on EC2 instances across the member AWS accounts. E. Deploy patches on EC2 instances across the member AWS accounts. This question is asking about the key billing and cost-saving benefits that AWS Organizations offers when you have multiple AWS accounts. Focus on features related to sharing resources and cost consolidation across accounts in an organization. AWS Organizations is mainly about governance, billing, and resource sharing, not about operational tasks like patching or provisioning instances. The correct answer is A. Share the reserved EC2 instances amongst the member AWS accounts. C. Volume discounts for Amazon EC2 and Amazon S3 aggregated across the member AWS accounts. AWS Organizations allows reserved instances sharing, which enables reserved capacity to be utilized across different accounts within an AWS organization. When a department needs to run an EC2 instance that matches an existing RI, it automatically uses the centrally purchased capacity, making option A correct. AWS Organizations also provides consolidated billing, which aggregates usage across all member accounts to unlock volume-based discounts for services like EC2 and S3, making option C correct. Note, as of June 1st, 2025, AWS implemented policy changes prohibiting RI sharing across different end customers within a single organization, but sharing within the same organization remains valid. Why the other options are wrong? Option B is wrong because AWS Organizations does not provision EC2 Spot instances. It's a governance and billing service, not an instance provisioning tool. Option D is wrong because checking vulnerabilities on EC2 instances is done by Amazon Inspector, not AWS Organizations. Option E is wrong because deploying patches is handled by AWS Systems Manager Patch Manager, not AWS Organizations. Remember, organizations equals share RIs plus volume discounts. It's all about billing benefits, not operations. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 9. Which AWS service would you choose for a data processing project to store unstructured data? The options are A, Amazon DynamoDB, B, Amazon Aurora, C, Amazon Redshift, D, Amazon RDS. This question is asking which AWS service is best for storing unstructured data, meaning data that doesn't fit into neat rows and columns. Think about which database type is flexible and can store data in varying formats without requiring a fixed schema. The keyword here is unstructured, not rigidly organized like traditional relational databases. The correct answer is A, Amazon DynamoDB. Amazon DynamoDB is a fast, NoSQL key-value database that benefits from its schemaless architecture, making it ideal for unstructured and semi-structured data. As a distributed NoSQL database, DynamoDB's flexible schema ensures easy data management without needing to predefine table schemas beyond the primary key. NoSQL databases like DynamoDB are considered ideal for unstructured data because of their flexible structure, high performance, and ability to easily scale out using distributed architecture. Why the other options are wrong? Option B is wrong because Amazon Aurora is a relational database, MySQL or PostgreSQL compatible, designed for structured data with fixed schemas and tables. Option C is wrong because Amazon Redshift is a data warehouse optimized for structured data analytics and SQL queries, not for storing unstructured data. Option D is wrong because Amazon RDS is a managed relational database service that supports databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server, all of which require structured data with defined schemas. Remember, DynamoDB equals dynamic data equals no fixed schema, perfect for flexible, unstructured data. Question 10. Which of the following is the best practice for application architecture on AWS Cloud? The options are A, build loosely coupled components, B, use synchronous communication between components, C, build tightly coupled components, D, build monolithic applications. This question is asking about AWS best practices for designing applications in the cloud. Think about how to build systems that are flexible, scalable, and resilient, where one component's failure doesn't bring down the entire application. The focus is on creating independence between different parts of your application. The correct answer is A, build loosely coupled components. Building loosely coupled components is a fundamental AWS best practice because it allows each part of your application to operate independently. If one component fails or needs updating, it won't bring down the entire system, improving resilience and scalability. Services like Amazon SQS, SNS, and EventBridge help you build loosely coupled architectures by enabling asynchronous communication between components. Why the other options are wrong? Option B is wrong because synchronous communication creates dependencies where one component must wait for another, reducing scalability and increasing the risk of cascading failures. Option C is wrong because tightly coupled components depend heavily on each other, making the system harder to scale, maintain, and modify without affecting other parts. Option D is wrong because monolithic applications bundle everything into one large application, making it difficult to scale individual parts and harder to update without affecting the entire system. Quick memory tip. Remember, loose is better, Lego blocks, not concrete. Build components that can work and scale independently. Question 11. Which of the following is correct regarding the AWS RDS service? The options are A, you can use read replicas for disaster recovery and multi-AZ for improved read performance. B, You can use both read replicas and multi-AZ for disaster recovery. C. You can use both read replicas and multi-AZ for improved read performance. D. You can use read replicas for improved read performance and multi-AZ for disaster recovery. This question is testing your knowledge about two key RDS features: read replicas and multi-AZ deployments. You need to understand what each feature is designed for: performance scaling or high availability and disaster recovery. The correct answer is D. You can use read replicas for improved read performance and multi-AZ for disaster recovery. Read replicas are specifically designed to offload read traffic from your primary database, increasing aggregate read throughput and scaling read-heavy workloads. They use asynchronous replication to create read-only copies of your data. Multi-AZ deployments are built for high availability and disaster recovery, providing automatic failover to a standby instance in a different availability zone if the primary database fails. This keeps your application running with minimal downtime. Option A is incorrect because it reverses the purposes. Read replicas are for performance, not primarily for DR, and multi-AZ is for availability DR, not read performance. Option B is incorrect because while read replicas can be promoted in DR scenarios, multi-AZ is the primary DR solution with automatic failover. Option C is incorrect because multi-AZ does not improve read performance. The standby replica is not accessible for read queries. Quick memory tips. Read replicas, read performance. Remember the double R for read-read. They scale your read operations. Multi-AZ equals availability in DR. Think A for availability. Multi-AZ keeps you available during disasters. Simple formula: need speed for reads? Add read replicas. Need safety from failures? Use multi-AZ. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 12. A multinational organization has separate VPCs for each of its business units on the AWS cloud. The organization also wants to connect its on-premises data center with all VPCs for better organization-wide collaboration. Which AWS services can be combined to build the most efficient solution for this use case? Select 2. The options are A. VPC peering, B. AWS Transit Gateway, C. AWS Direct Connect, D. AWS Internet Gateway, E. AWS Storage Gateway. This question is asking you to connect multiple VPCs with each other and connect them all to an on-premises data center. You need to identify which two AWS services work together to create the most efficient hub-and-spoke network architecture. The correct answer is B. AWS Transit Gateway. C. AWS Direct Connect. AWS Transit Gateway acts as a central hub that connects multiple VPCs together in a star topology, eliminating the need for complex VPC peering connections between each VPC. Instead of connecting dozens or hundreds of VPCs to each other individually, you connect each VPC to the Transit Gateway once. AWS Direct Connect provides a dedicated private network connection from your on-premises data center to AWS over a private connection, not through the public internet. When combined with Transit Gateway using a transit virtual interface, Direct Connect enables your on-premises network to reach all VPCs attached to the Transit Gateway through a single connection. Option A, VPC peering, is incorrect because while it can connect VPCs, it requires individual peering connections between each pair of VPCs, which becomes inefficient and complex as the number of VPCs grows. Option D, Internet Gateway, is incorrect because it's used to enable internet access for resources in a VPC, not for connecting on-premises data centers or VPCs to each other. Option E, Storage Gateway, is incorrect because it's a hybrid cloud storage service for connecting on-premises applications to AWS storage, not for network connectivity between VPCs. Quick memory tips. Transit Gateway equals traffic hub. Think of it as a central bus station where all VPCs connect once, instead of building roads between every pair of cities. Direct Connect equals dedicated highway. It's your private expressway from on-premises to AWS, bypassing the public internet. The power combo. Transit Gateway connects your VPCs together. Direct Connect connects on-premises to the Transit Gateway. And boom, everything talks to everything efficiently. Question 13. Which of the following entities are part of a VPC in the AWS cloud? Select 2. The options are A. API Gateway, B. Subnet, C. Storage Gateway, D. Internet Gateway. This question is asking you to identify which components actually exist within or are attached to a VPC as part of its architecture. You need to distinguish between VPC components and other AWS services that are independent of VPCs. The correct answer is B, subnet. D, internet gateway. Subnet is a fundamental part of a VPC. It is a segment of the VPC's IP range where you place resources like EC2 instances, so it is definitely inside the VPC. Internet gateway is a VPC component that you attach to the VPC to allow communication between resources in the VPC and the internet, making it directly part of VPC networking. Option A, API gateway, is incorrect because API gateway is a managed service for creating and managing APIs and is not a structural component inside a specific VPC. Option C, storage gateway, is incorrect because it is a hybrid storage service that connects on-premises environments with AWS storage, not a VPC building block. Option E, object, is incorrect because objects usually refer to S3 objects, which live in S3 buckets, not inside a VPC. Quick memory tips. Subnet equals subnetwork inside VPC. Think subroom in your private cloud building. Internet gateway equals internet door. If the VPC needs internet, it must have this door attached. If the name sounds like a general AWS service, API gateway, storage gateway, S3 object, it's usually not a core VPC component. Question 14. An e-commerce company has migrated its IT infrastructure from the on-premises data center to AWS Cloud. Which of the following costs is the company responsible for? The options are A, AWS data center physical security costs, B, application software license costs, C, costs for hardware infrastructure on AWS Cloud, D, costs for powering servers on AWS Cloud. This question tests your knowledge of the AWS shared responsibility model and what costs fall on the customer versus AWS. You need to identify which expense the company must still pay for after moving to the cloud. The correct answer is B, application software license costs. Application software license costs are the customer's responsibility because you own and manage the applications, operating systems, and software licenses that run on AWS infrastructure. When migrating to AWS, you need to either bring existing licenses, BYO, bring your own license, or purchase new cloud-compatible licenses, which can be a significant cost component. Option A, AWS Data Center Physical Security, is incorrect because AWS is responsible for securing the physical data centers, including guards, cameras, and access controls, as part of security of the cloud. Option C, hardware infrastructure costs, is incorrect because AWS owns and maintains all physical servers, storage devices, and networking hardware. You only pay for usage, not the hardware itself. Option D, powering servers costs, is incorrect because AWS handles all facility costs, including electricity, cooling, and power for the data centers. Quick memory tips. Shared responsibility model. AWS equals security of the cloud, physical stuff. Customer equals security in the cloud, your data, apps, licenses. Remember BOL, bring your own license. Your software licenses follow you to the cloud, so you still pay for them. If it plugs into a wall, AWS pays. If it installs on a server, you pay. Simple way to remember infrastructure versus software costs. Question 15. AWS Shield Advanced provides expanded DDoS attack protection for web applications running on which of the following resources? Select 2. The options are A, AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM, B, Amazon CloudFront, C, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, D, Amazon Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3, E, AWS Elastic Beanstalk. This question is asking you to identify which AWS resources can be protected by the paid AWS Shield Advanced service. You need to know the specific resource types that Shield Advanced supports for DDoS protection. The correct answer is B, Amazon CloudFront C, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. Amazon CloudFront distributions are directly supported by AWS Shield Advanced and are one of the primary resource types you can protect against DDoS attacks. Shield Advanced provides both network layer, layer 3-4, and application layer, layer 7 protection for CloudFront. Amazon EC2 instances are protected by AWS Shield Advanced through association with elastic IP addresses. When you attach an elastic IP to an EC2 instance and add that elastic IP to Shield Advanced protection, the EC2 instance gains advanced DDoS protection. Option A is incorrect because IAM is an identity and access management service, not a resource that faces the internet or can be targeted by DDoS attacks. Option D, S3, is incorrect because Amazon S3 is not a supported resource type for AWS Shield Advanced protection. S3 already has built-in DDoS resilience through its distributed architecture. Option E, Elastic Beanstalk, is incorrect because Elastic Beanstalk itself is not directly protected. Instead, you would protect the underlying resources like the ELB or EC2 elastic IPs that Beanstalk uses. Quick memory tips. Shield Advanced protects clear resources. CloudFront, elastic IPs, EC2, ALB ELB Route 53, and Global Accelerator. EC2 needs elastic IP. Remember, EC2 isn't directly protected. It gets protection through its associated elastic IP address. If it faces the internet and distributes content or traffic, Shield Advanced likely protects it. CloudFront, load balancers, and public EC2 instances are prime targets. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours. Question 16. Which of the following AWS storage services can be directly used with on-premises systems? The options are A, Amazon Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3, B, Amazon EC2 Instance Store, C, Amazon Elastic Block Store, EBS, D, Amazon Elastic File System, Amazon EFS. This question is asking which AWS storage service you can connect to directly from your on-premises servers as if it were a normal shared file system. Think of it as which AWS storage lets my data center servers mount and use AWS storage over the network. The correct answer is D, Amazon Elastic File System, Amazon EFS. Amazon EFS is a managed network file system that supports NFS, so both AWS resources and on-premises servers can mount it over the network using secure connectivity such as AWS Direct Connect or VPN. This makes it suitable when a business wants hybrid storage, where on-premises applications and cloud resources share the same files. Why the other options are incorrect? Amazon S3 is object storage accessed via HTTP APIs or S3 endpoints, not a traditional file system that servers mount directly like NFS. It is great for backups, static content, and data lakes, but it is not a direct file system mount for on-prem servers. Amazon EC2 Instance Store is ephemeral local storage that physically lives on the host for a specific EC2 instance and cannot be attached to on-premises systems at all. Amazon EBS provides block storage volumes for EC2 instances in a single availability zone and cannot be directly attached or mounted to on-premises servers. Quick memory tip. For hybrid file shares with on-prem servers AWS, think EFS equals network file system you can mount over VPN or Direct Connect. EFS equal elastic file share for everyone on-prem's cloud. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 17. Which AWS service would you use to create a logically isolated section of the AWS cloud where you can launch AWS resources in your virtual network? The options are A, Subnet, B, Virtual Private Network, VPN, C, Virtual Private Cloud, VPC, D, Network Access Control List. This question is asking which AWS service creates your own private isolated network space in the AWS cloud where you control IP addresses, subnets, and routing. Think of it as, what gives me my own private section of AWS to launch EC2 instances, databases, and other resources securely? The correct answer is C, Virtual Private Cloud, VPC. Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, VPC, lets you provision a logically isolated section of the AWS cloud where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network that you define. You have complete control over your networking environment, including IP address ranges, subnets, route tables, and network gateways, making it the foundation for secure, isolated cloud deployments. Why the other options are incorrect? Subnet is a segment within a VPC, not the isolated network itself. You divide your VPC into subnets, public and private, to organize resources, but the VPC is the main container. Virtual Private Network, VPN, is a secure connection method between your on-premises network and AWS, but it doesn't create the isolated network space. It just connects to it. Network Access Control List, NAL, is a security layer that controls inbound and outbound traffic at the subnet level, but it's a feature inside a VPC, not the isolated network itself. Quick memory tip. Think VPC equals your private cloud. VPC equals Virtual Private Cloud, your own isolated network in AWS. Everything else, subnets, NALs, route tables, lives inside your VPC. Question 18. Which AWS services can be used together to send alerts whenever the AWS account root user signs in? Select 2. The options are A, Step Function, B, SQS, C, Lambda, D, CloudWatch, E, SNS. This question asks which two AWS services work together to detect root user login activity and send you an immediate alert notification. Think of it as, what AWS services do I need to monitor for root login and then notify me about it? The correct answer is D, CloudWatch, E, SNS Amazon CloudWatch, specifically CloudWatch Events Event Bridge, is used to create an event rule that detects AWS console sign-in via CloudTrail events where the user identity.type is root. Once CloudWatch detects this root login event, it triggers Amazon SNS, Simple Notification Service, which sends real-time notifications via email, SMS, or other endpoints to alert you immediately. This is a critical security best practice because root account activity should be tightly monitored and rarely used. Why the other options are incorrect. Step function is used for orchestrating multi-step workflows and business processes, not for sending simple event notifications. SQS, Simple Queue Service, is a message queue for decoupling applications and buffering messages, but it doesn't send notifications directly to users. It holds messages for processing. Lambda can be used as part of the alerting workflow, CloudWatch Lambda SNS, but the question asks for the simplest two-service combination, which is CloudWatch plus SNS directly. Lambda is optional, not required. Quick memory tip for root login alerts. Think CloudWatch watches plus SNS notifies. CloudWatch equals detective, SNS equals messenger. Question 19. Which of the following AWS services can be used to forecast your AWS account usage and costs? The options are A, AWS Cost Explorer, B, AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, C, AWS Cost and Usage Reports, D, AWS Budgets. This question asks which AWS service has built-in forecasting capabilities to predict your future AWS spending based on your past usage patterns. Think of it as, which tool can tell me what my AWS bill will likely be next month or for the next 12 months? The correct answer is A, AWS Cost Explorer. AWS Cost Explorer is the only service among these options that provides built-in cost forecasting functionality. It uses your historical usage data from the past 12 months to predict future costs for up to 12 months ahead with an 80% prediction interval, meaning there's an 80% chance your actual costs will fall within the forecasted range. You simply select a future date range in Cost Explorer, and it automatically displays forecasted spending in charts and downloadable reports, making it ideal for budget planning and financial decision-making. Why the other options are incorrect. AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, now replaced by AWS Pricing Calculator, is used for estimating costs before you build or migrate workloads to AWS. It's for planning new projects, not forecasting existing account usage. AWS Cost and Usage Reports provide detailed historical billing data in CSV format for analysis, but they don't generate forecasts. They're raw data reports. AWS Budgets allows you to set spending limits and receive alerts when costs exceed thresholds, but it doesn't forecast future costs on its own. It works best when paired with Cost Explorer's forecasts. Quick memory tip. Think, Cost Explorer equal crystal ball for AWS costs. Cost Explorer forecasts, budgets alerts. They work together, but only Cost Explorer predicts the future. To get the free PDF, simply watch this full video. As you watch, you'll see the progress bar generating your PDF in real time. Once the video is almost complete, the download button unlocks automatically. No forms, no sign up, just learn first, then download. Question 20. The DevOps team at a big data consultancy has set up EC2 instances across 2 AWS regions for its flagship application. Which of the following characterizes this application architecture? The options are A, deploying the application across 2 AWS regions improves security. B, deploying the application across 2 AWS regions improves performance. C, deploying the application across 2 AWS regions improves availability. D, deploying the application across 2 AWS regions improves scalability. This question asks, what is the primary benefit of deploying your application across multiple AWS regions instead of just one region? Think of it as, if one entire AWS region goes down due to a major outage or disaster, what advantage does having a second region give you? The correct answer is C. Deploying the application across 2 AWS regions improves availability. Deploying applications across multiple AWS regions is primarily done to improve high availability and fault tolerance. Each AWS region is completely isolated from other regions. So if one entire region experiences an outage due to natural disasters, power failures, or infrastructure issues, your application can continue running in the other region, ensuring business continuity and minimal downtime. This multi-region architecture is essential for disaster recovery and maintaining service availability even during catastrophic regional failures. Why the other options are incorrect. Brief. Security is not the primary benefit of multi-region deployment. Security is managed through IAM, encryption, VPCs, and security groups, not by spreading resources across regions. Performance can be a secondary benefit if users are geographically distributed, reduced latency, but the question doesn't mention global users, just two regions for the same application, which is primarily for availability. Scalability refers to the ability to handle increased load by adding more resources, which can be done within a single region using autoscaling. Multi-region deployment doesn't inherently improve scalability, it improves availability. Quick memory tip. Think, multi-region equals don't put all eggs in one basket. If one region fails, the other keeps you alive equals high availability. Question 21. Which of the following is available across all AWS support plans? The options are A, enhanced technical support with unlimited cases and unlimited contacts. B, third-party software support. C, AWS Personal Health Dashboard. D, full set of AWS Trusted Advisor best practice checks. This question is asking which feature or service is available to all AWS customers, even those on the free basic support plan. Think of it as, what AWS monitoring or support tool can I access without paying for a premium support plan? The correct answer is C, AWS Personal Health Dashboard. The AWS Personal Health Dashboard is available to all AWS customers across all support plans, including the free basic support plan. It provides a personalized view of the health and performance of AWS services that are powering your specific resources, along with alerts and remediation guidance when AWS experiences events that might impact you. Unlike the general AWS Service Health Dashboard, which shows the status of all AWS services globally, the Personal Health Dashboard is customized to your account and shows only the issues affecting your resources. Why the other options are incorrect. Brief. Enhanced technical support with unlimited cases and unlimited contacts is only available with Business, Enterprise On-Ramp, and Enterprise support plans, not with Basic or Developer. Third-party software support, help with operating systems, application stacks, etc., is only available with Business and higher-tier support plans. Full set of AWS Trusted Advisor best practice checks, all security, performance, cost optimization checks, is only available with Business, Enterprise On-Ramp, and Enterprise plans. Basic support only gets 7 core checks. Quick memory tip, think, Personal Health Dashboard, free for all plans. PhD Personal Health Dashboard, everyone gets it. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 22. A financial services company wants to ensure that all customer data uploaded on its data lake on Amazon S3 always stays private. Which of the following is the most efficient solution to address this compliance requirement? The options are A, use Amazon S3 block public access to ensure that all S3 resources stay private. B, trigger a Lambda function every time an object is uploaded on S3. The Lambda function should change the object settings to make sure it stays private C. Set up a high-level advisory committee to review the privacy settings of each object uploaded into S3. Do you use CloudWatch to ensure that all S3 resources stay private? This question asks for the most efficient, simplest, most reliable, least manual way to guarantee that all S3 data stays private automatically. Think of it as, how can I ensure no one accidentally or intentionally makes my S3 buckets or objects public, now and in the future? The correct answer is A. Use Amazon S3 block public access to ensure that all S3 resources stay private. Amazon S3 block public access is a feature that provides centralized controls to block public access to all S3 buckets and objects at the account level, bucket level, or organization level. When enabled at the account level, it automatically overrides any bucket policies, ACLs, or permissions that would grant public access, ensuring that all current and future S3 resources remain private, regardless of how they are created or configured. This is the most efficient solution because it requires just a one-time configuration and provides automatic, continuous protection without manual intervention or custom code. Why the other options are incorrect. Brief. Trigger a Lambda function to change object settings is overly complex, requires custom coding, monitoring, and ongoing maintenance. It also introduces potential delays and failure points compared to the built-in S3 block public access feature. Set up a high-level advisory committee to review privacy settings is manual, slow, error-prone, and completely impractical for a data lake with potentially millions of objects. This is not a technical solution. Use CloudWatch as a monitoring and logging service that can detect public access issues after they occur, but it doesn't prevent public access from happening in the first place. It's reactive, not proactive. Quick memory tip. Think S3 block public access equals master lock for all buckets. Block public access equals set once at account level, protected forever. Question 23. A financial services company wants to migrate from its on-premises data center to AWS Cloud. As a cloud practitioner, which AWS service would you recommend so that the company can compare the cost of running their IT infrastructure on-premises versus AWS Cloud? The options are A. AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, B. AWS Total Cost of Ownership TCO Calculator, C. AWS Cost Explorer, D. AWS Budgets. This question asks which tool helps you compare on-premises infrastructure costs, servers, data centers, electricity, staff, versus AWS cloud cost before migration. Think of it as, which calculator shows me if moving to AWS will save money compared to keeping my current data center? The correct answer is B, AWS Total Cost of Ownership TCO Calculator. The AWS Total Cost of Ownership TCO calculator was specifically designed to help organizations compare their current on-premises infrastructure costs with the cost of running equivalent workloads on AWS. It factors in all direct and indirect costs of on-premises operations, including server hardware, software licenses, data center space, power cooling, network bandwidth, IT staff, maintenance, and upgrades, then provides a side-by-side comparison with AWS pricing to show potential savings. The tool generates detailed reports that can be shared with stakeholders to support migration business cases and decision-making. Note, AWS has since integrated TCO analysis capabilities into Migration Evaluator and AWS Pricing Calculator, but the exam still references the TCO calculator concept. Why the other options are incorrect. Brief. AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, now deprecated and replaced by AWS Pricing Calculator, was used to estimate future AWS costs only. It didn't compare on-premises costs. AWS Cost Explorer is for analyzing existing AWS spending patterns and forecasting future AWS costs. It doesn't compare on-premises versus cloud costs. AWS Budgets is for setting spending limits and receiving alerts when AWS costs exceed thresholds. It doesn't perform cost comparisons between on-premises and AWS. Quick memory tip, think. TCO Total Cost of Ownership On-Prem versus AWS comparison. TCO Calculator Migration Decision Tool. To get the free PDF, simply watch this full video. As you watch, you'll see the progress bar generating your PDF in real time. Once the video is almost complete, the download button unlocks automatically. No forms, no sign up, just learn first, then download. Question 24. Which of the following AWS support plans provide programmatic access to AWS Support Center features to create, manage, and close your support cases? Select 2. The options are A. Developer, B. Basic, C. Corporate, D. Business, E. Enterprise. This question asks which AWS support plans give you access to the AWS Support API so you can automate support case management programmatically via code or scripts. Think of it as, which support plans let me create and manage support tickets using API calls instead of manually logging into the AWS console? The correct answer is D, Business E Enterprise. The AWS Support API provides programmatic access to AWS Support Center features, allowing you to create, manage, list, and close support cases through API calls instead of using the console manually. This API access is available only with Business Support Plus, Enterprise On-Ramp, and Enterprise Support plans, not with Basic or Developer plans. The Support API enables automation of case management, integration with third-party ticketing systems like Jira and ServiceNow, and allows you to scale support operations across large AWS organizations efficiently. Why the other options are incorrect. Brief. Developer Plan provides email access to cloud support associates during business hours only, with no API access for programmatic case management. Basic Plan is free and includes account billing support, but no technical support cases or API access at all. Corporate is not a valid AWS support plan name. The actual plans are Basic, Developer, Business Support Plus, Enterprise On-Ramp, and Enterprise. Quick memory tip, think. Business Enterprise API access. Business and above gets automate with AWS Support API. Question 25. As per the AWS shared responsibility model, which of the following is a responsibility of AWS from a security and compliance point of view? The options are A. Identity and access management, B. Patching networking infrastructure, C. Service and communications protection, D. Patching guest OS and applications. This question is about the AWS shared responsibility model and asks which security task does AWS handle, not the customer. In simple terms, it wants to know what AWS is responsible for in the cloud infrastructure itself, rather than what you manage in your AWS account and resources. The correct answer is B. Patching networking infrastructure. Under the AWS shared responsibility model, AWS is responsible for security of the cloud, which includes the physical facilities, networking, and underlying hardware and software that run AWS services. That means AWS is responsible for patching and maintaining the networking infrastructure, such as routers, switches, and core network components that connect regions, availability zones, and data centers. Customers, on the other hand, are responsible for security in the cloud, which includes how they configure IAM, secure their data, patch operating systems on EC2 instances, and manage applications. Why the other options are incorrect. Brief. Identity and access management. A. Customers are responsible for configuring IAM users, roles, policies, and permissions in their own AWS accounts. Service and communications protection. C. This generally refers to how customers secure their applications and data flows, for example, using TLS, security groups, NACLs, and encryption settings within their environment. Patching guest OS and applications. D. When you run EC2 instances, you are responsible for updating and patching the operating system and any applications installed on those instances. Quick memory tip. Remember, AWS equals security of the cloud, U equals security in the cloud. If it's hardware, network, or data center, think AWS. If it's OS, apps, IAM, and data configuration, question 26. AWS Trusted Advisor can provide alerts on which of the following common security misconfigurations. Select 2. A. When you don't turn on user activity logging, AWS CloudTrail. B. When you share IAM user credentials with others. C. When you don't tag objects in S3 buckets. D. When you allow public access to Amazon S3 buckets. E. When you don't enable data encryption on S3 Glacier. This question asks which specific security checks AWS Trusted Advisor can perform to alert you about common security misconfigurations. Think of it as, what security issues does Trusted Advisor automatically scan for and flag in my AWS account? The correct answer is A. When you don't turn on user activity logging, AWS CloudTrail. D. When you allow public access to Amazon S3 buckets, AWS Trusted Advisor includes a security category that automatically checks for common security misconfigurations in your AWS account. 2 of its key security checks are: 1. CloudTrail logging status. It alerts you if CloudTrail is not enabled, which means you have no audit trail of API calls and user activity for security monitoring and compliance. 2. S3 bucket permissions. It detects S3 buckets with public read or write access and alerts you to prevent accidental data exposure. These checks help you identify and fix security gaps before they become incidents. Why the other options are incorrect. Sharing IAM credentials. B. Trusted Advisor cannot detect human behavior like sharing passwords. It only scans configurations. Not tagging S3 objects. C. Tagging is for cost management and organization, not a security check that Trusted Advisor monitors. S3 Glacier encryption. E. Trusted Advisor does not specifically check for S3 Glacier encryption settings. Quick memory tip. Think Trusted Advisor security equals CloudTrail on plus S3 buckets private, CloudTrail for logging plus S3 public access alerts. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 27. Which of the following can you use to run a Bootstrap script while launching an EC2 instance? A. EC2 instance AMI data. B. EC2 instance user data. C. EC2 instance configuration data. D. EC2 instance metadata. This question asks which EC2 feature allows you to automatically run commands or scripts when an instance first launches. Think of it as, how do I install software or configure an EC2 instance automatically at boot time without logging in? The correct answer is B. EC2 instance user data. EC2 instance user data allows you to pass a Bootstrap script to an EC2 instance that runs automatically when the instance first starts. This script executes with root privileges and is commonly used to automate tasks like installing software updates, downloading files, configuring services, or setting up web servers. User data runs only once at first launch, unless you reconfigure it, making it perfect for initial setup automation without manual intervention. Why the other options are incorrect. AMI data, A. AMI is the image template used to launch instances. It contains the OS and pre-installed software, but you don't pass Bootstrap scripts through AMI data. Configuration data, C. Not a valid EC2 feature. This is not how AWS terms instance setup options. Metadata, D. EC2 metadata provides information about the instance, like instance ID, IP address, not a way to run scripts at launch. Quick memory tip. Think, user data equals Bootstrap script at launch. User data runs commands when instance starts. Question 28. Which pillar of AWS well-architected framework is responsible for making sure that you focus on continually improving your processes and procedures? A. Performance efficiency. B. Reliability. C. Operational excellence. D. Cost optimization. This question asks which pillar of the AWS well-architected framework focuses on continuously improving processes, procedures, and operations. Think of it as which pillar is about running systems efficiently and learning from failures to keep getting better. The correct answer is C, operational excellence. The operational excellence pillar focuses on running and monitoring systems to deliver business value while continually improving supporting processes and procedures. Key principles include automating operations, making frequent small changes, learning from operational failures, and refining procedures regularly based on feedback. It emphasizes using monitoring tools like CloudWatch, implementing infrastructure as code, and creating a culture where teams anticipate failures and continuously evolve their practices to improve efficiency and reliability. Why the other options are incorrect. Performance efficiency, A, focuses on using computing resources efficiently to meet demand and adopting the latest technologies, not about improving processes. Reliability, B, focuses on workload ability to recover from failures and meet demand, not continuous process improvement. Cost optimization, D, focuses on avoiding unnecessary costs and choosing the most cost-effective resources, not operational improvement. Quick memory tip, think. Operational excellence, continuously improve operations and processes. OpEx equals learn, automate, and keep getting better. Question 29. A social media company wants to have the most cost-optimal strategy for deploying EC2 instances. As a cloud practitioner, which of the following options would you recommend? Select 2. A. Use on-demand instances to run applications with a predictable usage over the next 1 year. B. Use reserved instances for ad hoc jobs that can be interrupted. C. Use on-demand instances for ad hoc jobs that can be interrupted. D. Use reserved instances to run applications with a predictable usage over the next 1 year. E. Use spot instances for ad hoc jobs that can be interrupted on. This question asks which EC2 purchasing options provide the most cost savings for 2 different workload types: predictable long-term usage and interruptible short-term jobs. Think of it as, how do I match the right EC2 pricing model to each workload type to minimize costs? The correct answer is D. Use reserved instances to run applications with a predictable usage over the next 1 year. E. Use spot instances for ad hoc jobs that can be interrupted. Reserved instances, D, offer up to 72% discount compared to on-demand pricing when you commit to using instances for 1 or 3 years with predictable, steady-state workloads. This makes them ideal for applications like web servers, databases, or backend services that run continuously with known capacity requirements. Spot instances, E, provide up to 90% discount by using AWS's spare compute capacity, perfect for fault-tolerant, flexible, and interruptible workloads like batch processing, data analysis, or background jobs that can be stopped and restarted without impacting operations. Together, these 2 strategies maximize cost savings by matching pricing models to workload characteristics. Why the other options are incorrect. On-demand for predictable usage, A. On-demand is pay-as-you-go with no commitment, great for flexibility, but costs 72% more than reserved instances for predictable workloads. Reserved for interruptible jobs, B. Reserved instances require long-term commitment and aren't cost-effective for short ad hoc tasks that can be interrupted. On-demand for interruptible jobs, C. On-demand costs up to 90% more than spot instances for workloads that can tolerate interruptions. Quick memory tip, think. Reserved equals predictable and long-term. Spot equals interruptible and cheap. Reserved for steady apps, spot for flexible jobs. Question 30. Which of the following is the most cost-effective EC2 instance purchasing option for short-term, spiky, and critical workloads on AWS Cloud? A. Spot instance. B. Dedicated host. C. Reserved instance. D. On-demand instance. This question asks which EC2 pricing model is best for workloads that are short-term, unpredictable, spiky, and critical, cannot be interrupted. Think of it as which option gives me flexibility, no commitment, and guaranteed availability for important but unpredictable workloads. The correct answer is D. On-demand instance. On-demand instances are the most cost-effective option for short-term, spiky, and critical workloads because they offer pay-as-you-go pricing with no upfront commitment, guaranteed availability, and can be launched or terminated at any time. While on-demand costs more per hour than reserved or spot instances, for short-term usage, you avoid the long-term commitment costs of reserved instances, and for critical workloads, you get the reliability that spot instances, which can be interrupted, cannot provide. This makes on-demand the most economical choice when you need flexibility, reliability, and don't want to pay for unused capacity. Why the other options are incorrect? Spot instance A offers 90% savings but can be interrupted by AWS at any time, unsuitable for critical workloads that cannot tolerate interruptions. Dedicated host B, most expensive option, used for compliance or licensing requirements, not cost-effective for general workloads. Reserved instance C requires 1 to 3 year commitment and upfront payment, not cost-effective for short-term, unpredictable usage. Quick memory tip. Think critical, short-term, spiky, on-demand. On-demand, no commitment, always available. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours. Question 31. Which tool will help you review your workloads against current AWS best practices for cost optimization, security, and performance improvement, and then obtain advice to architect them better? A. AWS Cost Explorer. B. AWS Trusted Advisor. C. Amazon Inspector. D. Amazon CloudWatch. This question asks which AWS tool automatically reviews your environment against AWS best practices and provides recommendations for improvement across cost, security, and performance. Think of it as which AWS service acts like a consultant that scans my account and tells me what I can improve. The correct answer is B. AWS Trusted Advisor. AWS Trusted Advisor is a built-in AWS service that continuously inspects your AWS environment and provides real-time recommendations based on AWS best practices across 5 categories: cost optimization, performance, security, fault tolerance, and service limits. It automatically scans your resources like EC2 instances, S3 buckets, RDS databases, and security groups, and flags issues such as idle resources, security vulnerabilities, or underutilized reserved instances, then provides specific advice on how to fix them. Trusted Advisor presents results using a color-coded dashboard. Green equals no issues, yellow equals investigate, red equals action needed, making it easy to prioritize improvements. Why the other options are incorrect? AWS Cost Explorer A analyzes past spending and forecasts future costs, but doesn't review workloads for best practices or provide architecture recommendations. Amazon Inspector C focuses only on security, specifically scanning EC2 instances and container workloads for vulnerabilities, not cost or performance optimization. Amazon CloudWatch D monitors metrics, logs, and alarms for AWS resources, but doesn't provide best practice recommendations or architecture advice. Quick memory tip. Think Trusted Advisor is your AWS consultant, checks cost, security, performance. Trusted Advisor Best Practices Scanner. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 32. Which of the following are examples of horizontal scalability, aka elasticity? Select 2. A. Add a bigger CPU to a computer. B. Elastic load balancing. C. Modify an EC2 instance type from T2.nano to U12TB1.metal. D. Modify a database instance to higher CPU and RAM. E. Read replicas in Amazon RDS. This question asks which options represent horizontal scaling, adding more instances servers, rather than vertical scaling, making one instance bigger. Think of it as which options involve adding more machines to handle load, not upgrading a single machine. The correct answer is B. Elastic load balancing. E. Read replicas in Amazon RDS. Elastic load balancing. B. Is a core horizontal scaling service that distributes incoming traffic across multiple EC2 instances, containers, or targets in different availability zones. As demand increases, you add more instances behind the load balancer, spreading the load horizontally rather than upgrading a single instance. This improves both performance and reliability. RDS read replicas enable horizontal scaling for database read operations by creating multiple read-only copies of your primary database. Applications can distribute read queries across these replicas, reducing load on the primary database and improving overall throughput. This is classic horizontal scaling for databases. Why the other options are incorrect. Add bigger CPU A. This is vertical scaling, upgrading hardware on a single machine, not adding more machines. Modify EC2 from T2.nano to U12TB1.metal C. This is vertical scaling, changing to a larger instance type with more resources. Modify database to higher CPU RAM D. This is vertical scaling, upgrading a single database instance's capacity. Quick memory tip. Think. Horizontal, add more instances. Vertical equals make one instance bigger. ELB read replicas scale out horizontal. Question 33. Which of the following statement is correct for a security group and a network access control list? A. Security group acts as a firewall at the AZ level, whereas network access control list acts as a firewall at the VPC level. B. Security group acts as a firewall at the subnet level, whereas network access control list acts as a firewall at the instance level. C. Security group acts as a firewall at the VPC level, whereas network access control list acts as a firewall at the AZ level D. Security group acts as a firewall at the instance level, whereas network access control list acts as a firewall at the subnet level. This question asks about the scope or level where security groups and NACLs operate to control traffic in AWS. Think of it as, where does each security layer apply? At the individual instance or at the entire subnet? The correct answer is D. Security group acts as a firewall at the instance level, whereas network access control list acts as a firewall at the subnet level. Security groups operate at the instance level, technically at the elastic network interface level, meaning they control traffic to and from individual EC2 instances, RDS databases, load balancers, and other AWS resources. Each instance can have multiple security groups attached, providing granular, resource-specific firewall rules. Network ACLs, NCLs, operate at the subnet level, applying their rules to all traffic entering or exiting a subnet, affecting every instance within that subnet. NACLs act as a broader security boundary, while security groups provide fine-grained instance protection. Together, they create a layered defense strategy. Why the other options are incorrect. Option A. Neither operates at the AZ or VPC level. Security groups are instance level, NACLs are subnet level. Option B. This reverses the correct answer. Security groups are instance level, not subnet level. Option C. Neither operates at the VPC or AZ level. This is completely incorrect. Quick memory tip. Think. Security group equals instance firewall. NAC equals subnet firewall. SG protects instances. NACL protects subnets. Question 34. Which AWS support plan provides access to a technical account manager TAM? A. Business. B. Enterprise. C. Business and Enterprise. D. Developer. This question asks which AWS support plan includes a dedicated technical account manager who acts as your personal AWS advisor. Think of it as, which premium support tier gives me a dedicated AWS expert to help with my cloud strategy and operations? The correct answer is B. Enterprise support is the only AWS support plan that includes access to a dedicated technical account manager TAM. A TAM acts as your trusted cloud advisor and operations architect, providing personalized guidance, proactive monitoring, strategic technical reviews, and advocacy within AWS. TAMs help you design solutions, optimize costs, plan migrations, review incidents, and ensure your AWS environments remain operationally healthy, building a long-term relationship focused on helping you achieve maximum business value from AWS. Why the other options are incorrect. Business, A, provides 24/7 phone, chat, email support, and full trusted advisor access, but no dedicated TAM. Business and Enterprise, C, incorrect. Only enterprise support includes a TAM, not business. Developer, D, entry-level support with business hours email access only. No TAM included. Quick memory tip. Think. TAM equals enterprise only. Enterprise support, your dedicated AWS advisor, TAM. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours. Question 35. Which of the following AWS services are always free to use? Select 2. A. Identity and Access Management, IAM. B. Elastic Compute Cloud, Amazon EC2. C. AWS AutoScaling, D. DynamoDB. E. Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3. This question asks which AWS services have no charges at all, regardless of how much you use them. Think of it as, which AWS services can I use freely without ever receiving a bill for the service itself? The correct answer is A. Identity and Access Management, IAM. C. AWS Autoscaling. AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM, is offered at no additional charge. You can create unlimited IAM users, groups, roles, and policies without ever receiving a bill for IAM itself. You only pay when IAM users access other AWS services like EC2 or S3. AWS Autoscaling is also completely free. There are no charges for the autoscaling service itself. You only pay for the underlying AWS resources, like EC2 instances or DynamoDB tables that autoscaling launches or adjusts. Both services are management and orchestration tools that AWS provides at no cost to help you securely manage and optimize your infrastructure. Why the other options are incorrect? Amazon EC2, B. You pay for compute time by the hour or second, plus storage and data transfer costs. DynamoDB, D. You pay for read-write capacity units or on-demand requests, plus storage costs. Amazon S3, E. You pay for storage per GB per month, data transfer, and API requests. Quick memory tip. Think IAM plus autoscaling's always free. IAM manages users. Autoscaling manages capacity, both free. As per the AWS shared responsibility model, which of the following is a responsibility of AWS from a security and compliance point of view? A. Customer data. B. Server-side encryption. C. Identity and access management. D. Edge location management. This question is asking which task belongs to AWS, not the customer, under the shared responsibility model. In simple terms, which item is part of AWS managing the global cloud infrastructure? The correct answer is D. Edge location management. Under the AWS shared responsibility model, AWS is responsible for security of the cloud, which includes the physical infrastructure, data centers, regions, availability zones, and edge locations used by services like CloudFront and Route 53. That means AWS handles physical security, facility operations, hardware, and networking at these locations. Customers never manage or control edge location infrastructure, so edge location management is clearly an AWS responsibility. Why the other options are incorrect? Customer data A. Customers are fully responsible for securing and classifying their own data in AWS. Server-side encryption B. Choosing to enable encryption, selecting keys, and managing policies for data encryption is a customer responsibility, even if AWS provides the tools. S3 SSE, KMS, etc. Identity and access management. C. Customers are responsible for configuring IAM users, roles, and permissions in their own accounts. Quick memory tip, think. AWS equals physical infrastructure, regions, AZs, edge locations. U equals data, IAM configs. Question 37. An organization deploys its IT infrastructure in a combination of its on-premises data center along with AWS Cloud. How would you categorize this deployment model? A. Cloud deployment. B. Hybrid deployment. C. Mixed deployment. D. Private deployment. This question is asking what we call a setup where a company uses both its own data center and AWS Cloud together. In simple terms, on-premises plus cloud at the same time equals a specific deployment model name. The correct answer is B. Hybrid deployment. A hybrid deployment means an organization runs its IT environment partly on-premises and partly in the cloud. This model is common when companies want to gradually move to the cloud or keep some systems on-premises for compliance, latency, or legacy reasons. AWS explicitly refers to this combination of on-premises infrastructure and AWS Cloud as a hybrid deployment model. Why the other options are incorrect? Cloud deployment, A, refers to workloads running only in the cloud, not combined with on-premises. Mixed deployment, C, not a standard AWS term. The official term is hybrid. Private deployment, D, implies everything is in a private environment, such as only on-premises or a private cloud, not using public cloud like AWS together with on-prem. Quick memory tip, on-premises plus AWS Cloud together equals hybrid deployment. Question 38. An e-commerce company wants to assess its applications for vulnerabilities and deviations from AWS best practices. Which AWS service can be used to facilitate this? A. AWS Cloud HSM. B. AWS Trusted Advisor. C. Amazon Inspector. D. AWS Secrets Manager. This question is asking which AWS service scans application/workloads for security vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. In simple terms, which service automatically checks my running apps and infrastructure for security issues? The correct answer is C, Amazon Inspector. Amazon Inspector is an automated vulnerability management service that discovers workloads such as EC2 instances, container images in Amazon ECR, and Lambda functions, then scans them for software vulnerabilities and unintended network exposure. It evaluates resources against security best practices and known CVEs, assigns risk scores, and provides prioritized findings so teams can patch the most critical issues first. This makes it ideal for an e-commerce company that wants to proactively assess its applications for vulnerabilities and deviations from AWS security best practices. Why the other options are incorrect. AWS Cloud HSM-A provides hardware security modules for managing your own encryption keys. It does not scan applications for vulnerabilities. AWS Trusted Advisor B checks your AWS account configuration for cost, performance, security, and fault tolerance best practices, but it does not perform deep vulnerability scans on applications or workloads. AWS Secrets Manager D securely stores and rotates secrets like passwords and API keys, but does not assess applications for vulnerabilities. Quick memory tip. Think, Inspector inspects workloads for vulnerabilities. Trusted Advisor equals account level best practice checks, Inspector deep security scans. Question 39. An organization has a complex IT architecture involving a lot of system dependencies, and it wants to track the history of changes to each resource. Which AWS service will help the organization track the history of configuration changes for all the resources? A, AWS CloudTrail. B, AWS CloudTrail, AWS Config. D, AWS Service Catalog. This question is asking which service records and shows how AWS resource configurations change over time. In simple terms, which service keeps a history of what each resource looked like and when it changed? The correct answer is C, AWS Config. AWS Config is designed to track configuration changes of supported AWS resources over time. It records detailed configuration snapshots and maintains a history of every change, allowing you to see previous states and how resources are related or dependent on each other. You can also use AWS Config to set up rules that check whether your resource configurations comply with internal policies or best practices. Why the other options are incorrect. AWS CloudTrail A tracks API calls and user activity, not full resource configuration history. It answers who did what, not what was the full config at any time. AWS CloudFormation B used to provision resources as code, but it does not track ongoing config changes made outside the stack. AWS Service Catalog D helps manage and distribute approved products, like templates, to users, but does not record resource configuration history. Quick memory tip, think. Config equals configuration history and compliance. CloudTrail equals API activity logs. Config equals resource config timeline. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours. Question 40. Which of the following AWS services can be used to prevent distributed denial of service DDoS attack? Select 3. A, AWS Cloud HSM. B, AWS Shield. C, Amazon Inspector. D, AWS WAF. E, Amazon CloudFront with Route 53F. AWS Trusted Advisor. This question is asking which services help protect applications from DDoS attacks, especially web apps exposed to the internet. In simple terms, which AWS tools help absorb, filter, or block huge amounts of bad traffic so your app stays online? The correct answer is B, AWS Shield. D, AWS WAF. E, Amazon CloudFront with Route 53. AWS Shield. B, a managed DDoS protection service that automatically detects and mitigates infrastructure layer DDoS attacks like SYN floods, UDP floods against resources such as CloudFront, Route 53, ALB, and others. AWS WAF. D, a web application firewall that helps protect against application layer, Layer 7, DDoS attacks by letting you define rules to block bad HTTP requests, limit rates, and filter malicious patterns. Amazon CloudFront with Route 53. E. These edge services distribute traffic globally and integrate with AWS Shield to absorb and mitigate large DDoS attacks close to the source, preventing them from overwhelming your origin servers. Together, Shield plus WAF, CloudFront Route 53 form a layered DDoS defense strategy recommended by AWS. Why the other options are incorrect. AWS Cloud HSM A used for hardware-based key management and cryptography, not DDoS protection. Amazon Inspector C scans workloads for vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, not for DDoS mitigation. AWS Trusted Advisor, F, provides best practice checks, including some security recommendations, but does not actively block DDoS attacks. Quick memory tip, think DDoS defense stack equals Shield plus WAF, CloudFront, Route 53. Edge, Shield, WAF, stay online under attack. Question 41. Which AWS service can be used to provision resources to run big data workloads on Hadoop clusters? A. AWS Batch. B. Amazon EC2. C. AWS Step Function. D. Amazon EMR. This question is asking which AWS service is specifically built to run big data frameworks like Hadoop, Spark, and Hive without manually managing the cluster infrastructure. In simple terms, which AWS service manages Hadoop clusters for processing large data sets? The correct answer is D. Amazon EMR. Amazon EMR is a fully managed big data service that automatically provisions and manages Hadoop, Spark, and Hive clusters on AWS, no manual setup needed. It scales clusters on demand and shuts them down after processing, making it cost-efficient for large-scale data workloads. Why the other options are incorrect? AWS Batch, A, manages batch computing workloads like containers and scripts, but is not designed for Hadoop big data frameworks. Amazon EC2, B, can host Hadoop manually, but you'd manage everything yourself. No automation, no cluster management. AWS Step Functions, C, orchestrates multi-step workflows and state machines, but does not provision or manage Hadoop clusters. EMR equals Elastic MapReduce, managed Hadoop/Spark clusters on AWS. Big data plus Hadoop equals Amazon EMR. Question 42. Which AWS compute service provides the easiest way to access resizable compute capacity in the cloud with support for per-second billing and access to the underlying OS? A. Amazon Elastic Container Service, ECS. B. AWS Lambda. C. Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. D. Amazon Lightsail. This question asks which AWS compute service gives you virtual servers with full OS access, flexible sizing, and per-second billing. In simple terms, which service is like renting a virtual computer in the cloud where you control the OS? The correct answer is C. Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. Amazon EC2 provides resizable virtual compute capacity in the cloud with full access to the underlying OS, Windows or Linux, support for per-second billing, and a wide choice of instance types for any workload. It is the most straightforward AWS service for launching virtual servers where you control the OS, applications, and configurations. Why the other options are incorrect? Amazon ECS-A manages containers, not virtual machines. No direct OS access for the underlying host. AWS Lambda, B, serverless compute that runs code in response to events. No OS access, no per-second billing for idle time. Amazon Lightsail, D, simplified virtual servers for beginners, but offers limited configurability compared to EC2, not the easiest for full resizable compute with OS access. Quick memory tip, EC2 equals virtual server in the cloud, resizable OS access plus per-second billing. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 43. Which AWS service enables users to find, buy, and immediately start using software solutions in their AWS environment? A. AWS Marketplace. B. AWS Systems Manager. C. AWS Config. D. AWS OpsWorks. This question asks which AWS service works like an online store for third-party software that can be deployed directly into your AWS environment. In simple terms, which service lets me browse, purchase, and instantly deploy software on AWS? The correct answer is A. AWS Marketplace. AWS Marketplace is a digital catalog with thousands of software listings from independent vendors, including AMIs, SaaS, containers, and ML models that can be purchased and deployed directly into your AWS environment with just a few clicks. It simplifies software procurement by consolidating billing into your AWS invoice. Why the other options are incorrect? AWS Systems Manager, B, manages and automates operational tasks on AWS resources, not a software store. AWS Config, C, tracks resource configuration history and compliance, not a software marketplace. AWS OpsWorks, D, provides managed Chef and Puppet for infrastructure automation, not for buying software. Quick memory tip, AWS Marketplace App Store for AWS software. Find, buy, and deploy instantly. Question 44. As per the AWS shared responsibility model, which of the following is a responsibility of the customer from a security and compliance point of view? A. Configuration management for AWS global infrastructure. B. Availability zone infrastructure management. C. Managing patches of the guest operating system on Amazon EC2. D. Patching fixing flaws within the AWS infrastructure. This question asks which security task belongs to the customer, not AWS, under the shared responsibility model. In simple terms, when I run an EC2 instance, what OS level security task is entirely mine to handle? The correct answer is C. Managing patches of the guest operating system on Amazon EC2, AWS explicitly states that customers are responsible for managing the guest OS, including updates and security patches, on EC2 instances. This is because EC2 is an IaaS, infrastructure as a service. AWS manages the hardware and hypervisor. But everything above the virtualization layer, OS, apps, configurations, is the customer's responsibility. Why the other options are incorrect? Configuration management for AWS infrastructure, A. AWS maintains configuration of its own infrastructure devices. Availability zone infrastructure management, B. AWS manages all AZ physical facilities, power, and networking. Patching, fixing AWS infrastructure flaws, D. AWS is solely responsible for patching its own underlying infrastructure. Quick memory tip. AWS equals security of the cloud. U equals security in the cloud. EC2 OS patches, always your responsibility. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours. Question 45. Which of the following statement is correct regarding the AWS pricing policy for data transfer charges? A. Only inbound data transfer is charged. B. Only outbound data transfer is charged. C. Both inbound data transfer and outgoing data transfer are charged. D. Data transfer between AWS services within the same region is charged. This question is asking how AWS bills for data moving in and out of AWS services. In simple terms, does AWS charge me for uploading data to AWS, downloading data from AWS, or both? The correct answer is B. Only outbound data transfer is charged. AWS follows a free inbound, paid outbound pricing model. Data transferred into AWS, uploads, migrations, is free of charge, while data transferred out of AWS to the internet is billed. Additionally, data transferred between AWS services within the same region is generally free, making it cost-efficient to architect multi-service solutions within a single region. Why the other options are incorrect? Only inbound charged, A. Inbound data transfer is free. This is the opposite of AWS policy. Both charged, C. Only outbound is charged. Inbound is always free. Same region transfer charge, D. Data transfer between AWS services within the same region is free. Quick memory tip. Data in equals free, data out equals charged. AWS welcomes your data in for free, charges when it leaves. Question 46. Which of the following solutions can you use to connect your on-premises network with AWS Cloud? Select 2. A. AWS VPN. B. Amazon VPC. C. Internet Gateway. D. Amazon Route 53. E. AWS Direct Connect. This question asks which services create a network connection between your on-premises data center and AWS Cloud. Think, which options build a secure bridge between my office data center and AWS? The correct answer is A. AWS VPN. E. AWS Direct Connect. AWS VPN creates an encrypted tunnel over the public internet between on-premises and AWS, quick to set up and cost-effective. AWS Direct Connect provides a dedicated private physical connection to AWS, delivering consistent low latency and high throughput for enterprise workloads. Why the other options are incorrect? Amazon VPC-B, a virtual private network inside AWS, does not connect on-premises to AWS. Internet Gateway, C, connects a VPC to the public internet, not to on-premises networks. Amazon Route 53, D, a DNS service for routing traffic, not a network connectivity solution. Quick memory tip, on-prem AWS equals VPN Internet Tunnel or Direct Connect, private wire. Question 47. Which policy describes prohibited uses of the web services offered by Amazon Web Services? A. AWS Acceptable Use Policy. B. AWS Fair Use Policy. C. AWS Trusted Advisor. D. AWS Applicable Use Policy. This question tests your knowledge of AWS governance documents and policies. It asks which specific policy outlines what users are not allowed to do on AWS. The correct answer is A. AWS Acceptable Use Policy. The AWS Acceptable Use Policy, AUP, defines prohibited uses of AWS services, including illegal activities, security violations, and abusive behavior. All AWS customers must agree to this policy. Why the other options are incorrect? AWS Fair Use Policy, B. This policy does not exist in AWS. It's a distractor. AWS Trusted Advisor, C. A cost and security optimization tool, not a policy document. AWS Applicable Use Policy, D. This also does not exist, another made-up distractor. Quick memory tip, AUP Acceptable Use Policy, what you cannot do on AWS. Question 48. Which of the following is correct about AWS Developer Support Plan? A. Allows one contact to open unlimited cases. B. Allows unlimited contacts to open unlimited cases. C. Allows unlimited contacts to open a limited number of cases per month. D. Allows one contact to open a limited number of cases per month. This question tests knowledge of AWS support plan tiers and their contact case limits. Each plan has a specific rule on how many contacts can raise how many case. The correct answer is A. Allows one contact to open unlimited cases. The AWS Developer Support Plan allows one primary contact to open an unlimited number of cases, but only with business hours email access to cloud support associates. This is different from the business enterprise plans, which allow unlimited contacts to open unlimited cases. Why the other options are incorrect? B. Unlimited contacts, unlimited cases. This applies to business and enterprise plans, not developer. C. Unlimited contacts, limited cases. This is entirely inaccurate. Developer allows only one contact, not unlimited. D. One contact, limited cases. The cases are unlimited, not limited. Quick memory tip. Developer equals one contact, cat cases. Business enterprise equal contacts, tie cases. Question 49. What are the fundamental drivers of cost with AWS Cloud? A. Compute, databases, and inbound data transfer. B. Compute, databases, and outbound data transfer. C. Compute, storage, and outbound data transfer. D. Compute, storage, and inbound data transfer. This question tests knowledge of the three core AWS cost pillars. AWS pricing is built around what you run, what you store, and what you send out. The correct answer is C. Compute, storage, and outbound data transfer. AWS pricing is fundamentally driven by compute, EC2, Lambda, pay for what you run, storage, S3, EBS, pay for what you store, and outbound data transfer, pay for data leaving AWS to the internet. Inbound data transfer is always free. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Compute, databases, inbound. Databases are not a core cost driver category, and inbound transfer is free. B. Compute, databases, outbound. Databases is not one of the three fundamental drivers. Storage is. D. Compute, storage, inbound. Inbound data transfer is always free on AWS tip. AWS cost equals compute plus storage, outbound transfer. Inbound is always free. Question 50. An IT company wants to run a log backup process every Monday at 2 a.m. The usual runtime of the process is 5 minutes. As a cloud practitioner, which AWS services would you recommend to build a serverless solution for this use case? Select 2. CloudWatch. B. Step function. C. EC2 instance. D. Systems manager. E. Lambda. This question tests knowledge of serverless scheduling on AWS. The key clues are scheduled task, short runtime, 5 mins, and serverless. The correct answer is A. CloudWatch. E. Lambda. CloudWatch Events, EventBridge, supports cron-based scheduling to trigger actions at a specific time, while AWS Lambda runs the backup code serverlessly. No servers to manage, and it handles 5-minute tasks well within its 15-minute max timeout. Why the other options are incorrect? Step function B orchestrates complex multi-step workflows, overkill for a simple scheduled task. EC2 instance C, a server-based solution, not serverless, and costly for a 5-minute weekly job. Systems manager D, used for managing infrastructure and patching, not for serverless scheduling. Quick memory tip: scheduled plus serverless equals CloudWatch triggers Lambda, always.